Om Shanti System
Om Shanti.
et vous trouvez le one speaker déjà
Yeah.
online.
Oui, il est déjà là. Comment ça va se passer? Ou même que vous présentez tous les trois un seul coup en même temps ou bien par un?
Vous faites un par un et Dr. Juan va faire dernier, donc à partir de ce qui est déjà préparé.
On va pas trop comprendre. Veut dire, il pour faire deux introductions ou pour faire la troisième?
Non, moi, je fais premier, second
OK.
et le final. Et
Il est
j'arrive
pour
à faire
présenter.
partie. Ouais,
OK.
ouais.
Le chic, oui, nos caméras me les tester là,
Vos
visibilité.
caméras, ok. La lumière, ok.
Dire ouais, mais un petit peu ça, mais il y a une possibilité, par contre, c'est une possibilité. Sinon,
Là,
il est OK, mais un petit peu ça, comment dire.
me la somme là, à côté de la pile, on peut pas s'y mirer là.
OK. Sans problème, c'est assez visible. Neko, comment dire, adresse aux caméra parce qu'il peut trouver seulement up to your chin si tu as baissé un petit peu.
Comme ça.
Ah, et là, c'est good. Là, c'est bien.
Là.
OK, très bien. Merci.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for choosing Night Sky.
Can you unmute, please?
Om Shanti, everybody. I feel much blessed for having been chosen by the Brahma Kumari Gospel Branch as tonight's MC. Our theme for tonight is mental wellness, chosen to commemorate the World Yoga Day, which was held on the 31st of June, 2022. I'd like to present myself, Dr. Sanjeev Ganesh, consultant in charge of the medical unit of Victoria Hospital of Mauritius. Our agenda will be as follows, and I'm sure you're all going to benefit from this interactive webinar with international experts in the field. Before we start the session, I'd like to invite Sister Rupa, coordinator of the Brahma Kumari of Gospel, for some words of blessing. Thank you. Thank you, Sister.
Thank you, Brother Rajiv. Om Shanti. A very good evening, rather good night to all our resource persons and all our spectators, all those who are here to benefit from this very valuable topic, which concerns all of us. So a very, very hearty welcome to our dear Divine Brother, Girish Patelji, our brother Dr. Mahendranath Mutaji, and Sister Alpa Rawal from USA. So we are really very thankful to you for having accepted your presence tonight to share with us the blending of Raj Yoga and physical yoga for the benefit of our mental health, social health, physical health, and spiritual health. The spiritual health connects all the three together to help us enhance our health in all these aspects and to enjoy a better health. So with the blessings of the Supreme, as the word yoga means our link connection, and when there is the link and connection with the Supreme Soul, that means, of course, mentally, spiritually, we feel very healthy. Because all these are connected to our own original qualities, the values that are the main qualities of to form the personality of a person. And with all the blessings of the Supreme, hope today's dialogue will be very fruitful and we'll all enjoy, will benefit from the very valuable topic. We are really thankful for Brother Rajesh Shivan, who is the one who's giving us the idea of having this program today. Now, so a very, very hearty thanks to Brother Rajesh also. He will be our moderator. We know there are many, many questions, many, many things we are eager to know, to learn now from our the resource persons. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Sister Rupa. Thank you, Sister Rupa. We are now going to introduce the guest speakers. May I humbly remind the guest speakers that they have 5 minutes of talk, followed by 10 minutes of questions and answers. Dr. Rajesh Jiwan, Associate Professor in Microbiology at the University of Mauritius, will be the moderator for the questions and answer part. Our first speaker for tonight is Ms. Alpa Rawal, yoga therapist from the USA. She is a wellness coach, a public speaker in stress management, and is currently enrolled in a PhD program in the field of science of yoga and research in the International Hindu University. She has taught yoga courses to medical professionals, and she's currently working as a healing arts specialist at the Orlando Health Hospital Cancer Center, Integrative Medicine Department. I will now invite Ms. Alpa for her talk. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Alpa.
Please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. It really is an honor to be here and join this very well-needed topic of awareness for yoga as therapy. So I came into yoga for my own mental health. And as a child, I grew up in the world of yoga. And now as an adult, I teach yoga from for the cancer patients and survivors. But what I've noticed is yoga starts at the physical body. We come to yoga to lose weight, to become more flexible, to look better. But at the end, when we leave yoga, it helps us feel better as we do the physical exercises. So yoga is not just a physical exercise, it's also a psychological exercise as well. And yoga and meditation directs an individual towards an optimal attitude, towards their well-being. It helps change our path towards better and healthier life. Why and how? Because it helps us become aware of ourselves. It really is an exercise of internal self-awareness. And how do we get there? How do we become aware? When we start yoga as a physical practice, let's say we do go there at a general yoga class, as a therapist, we do find an individualized approach for a host of issues for people that come to yoga. But when we do go to yoga as a general practice, and say we go to the gym, or we go to a yoga center, or we go to a Brahma Kumari center, and we place our feet onto the floor, we may be dealing with some mental issues. We may be dealing with anxiety and depression, which is all very silent. It's not seen with naked eye, and we all know that. But physical body, we can see, we can feel, we can touch. But when we actually put our feet on the floor, we come into the Tadasana. We come to that silent space. And then we're told, let's become aware of our body. Let's become aware of our feet that's touching the floor. Root your feet, which is often used in yoga. Let's find our roots. So we find ourselves connected to the ground. Let's just take, the Tadasana as an example. Then we raise our arms over the head. And when we exhale, we actually compress our abdomen and activate our sympathetic nervous system. And our sympathetic nervous tone, right? I'm not a medical practitioner, I'm not a physician, but I'm speaking the scientific yoga, connecting it to the science of yoga. So our autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic tone. Sympathetic tone helps us fight and flight from that tiger. And we're always fighting and flighting. We're always in a hurry, whether we're in a hurry or not. We're always in a hurry to speak. We speak before the person in front of us finishes their sentence. Before we act, before we think, right? But when we come onto our mat, when we're told to take a deep breath, fill our abdomen with that fresh oxygen, our parasympathetic nervous system starts becoming above the sympathetic nervous tone. We fold forward, we compress our abdomen, we take that deep breath. We're often told when we're dealing with anxiety and depression, we say, take a deep breath. And what do? We go, it's probably the worst thing that we've done. We've actually activated our heart rate. We've actually gotten into, people that deal with hypertension, where actually it doesn't really have a positive impact, taking that shallow breath. But when we compress our abdomen in a forward fold, when we are opening up our heart in a cobra position, we're actually activating our heart muscles, our breathing muscles. When we compress our abdomen in a twist from side to side, we're massaging our internal organs, in turn improving our gut health. So there's a host of things that happen as we do yoga, and then we're told to take a deep breath. And in Western yoga, let's just not call it Western, let's say modern yoga, where meditation is this much part of yoga. Breathing, we say, okay, let's go ahead and take a deep breath. And it comes into practice just maybe 1 minute out of the posture. But how do the posture work help mental health? When we're rotating our joints, we open up our lymph nodes, our lymphatic fluid starts flowing throughout our body, we feel a rush of energy. And a rush of energy improves our mood. And when we're massaging our synovial gland, our synovial fluid, we're massaging the gland, and we have this, I call it the oil of our body in all our joints. When our joints start functioning, when we feel energetic in our lungs, and then when we close our eyes, and then we meditate, we are better able to focus on what we call this monkey mind. We're better able to be self-aware. We're better able to notice where I am now at this present moment. And we're better able to be compassionate to ourselves because we become self-aware. It's very easy to tell each other, say, just be compassionate. Just stop thinking. Don't overthink. Don't overreact. But how do we do that? We use the body as a vehicle, because that is the Western way of yoga. So how do we reach people? And when people do come to meditation, I always start with the physical body. And if you'd like, I know I was told to take us through a small practice. If we can all, everyone that's present here, let me go ahead and have you experience opening up your lymphatic fluid and opening up your lungs. And we'll just go into a small 1 minute practice, maybe just 2 minutes. So let's close our eyes, bring our hands on our thighs, and round our shoulders back and down. Just for a moment, become aware of our breath. Notice this awareness, this 5-10 seconds, how it just calmed our heart. And now with our eyes closed, let's round our shoulders back and down. And let's just do this 3 or 4 times, just rounding our shoulders. Since we only have 5 minutes, we'll do this very quickly and stop. Now just rounding the shoulders 3-4 times, notice your shoulders. Deep breath in. Let's just round our neck, chin to chest, and look all the way up. When we're feeling no focus, mental anxiety, we wake up in the morning, this is what I always recommend we do. We open up the front of our throat and look up. Look up, open your eyes wide and come back. Just simple exercise like this. Do you feel a little bit more aware? Do you feel a little bit more focused? Now imagine if we did this every day or 3-4 days a week. No need to go to a class, no need to go to a studio, but if we actually take discipline and do just yoga 15 to 20 minutes, 3, 4, 5 days a week, and create the self-awareness, in turn create self-compassion, that, okay, this is where I am, this is how far I can go with this pose today. Okay, let me pull back and let me not overdo this. And maybe I can meditate for 5 minutes a day. And if we create a regular practice, maybe in a month, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, you will see your anxiety diminish. You will feel more positive attitude towards yourself and then towards others. How does yoga cultivate compassion, kindness, and love? It starts with ourselves. We start loving our body, loving ourselves, and then loving the world. We start seeing the world in a positive manner. And this is my message to yoga. Let's come together. Let's create self-compassion, self-love, and awareness, so then we can reach out to the world and share this gift to others and say, come and do yoga with me for a little bit, whether you're a teacher or not. And this is my gift to myself and to those that I love around me. And I'm open to any other questions that you may have. Namaste.
Thank you, Sister Alba. I'll leave the floor now. I'm expecting a few questions from the audience. If you guys have got any queries or any comments, please feel free to send them in the chat box as well. I do have a few questions for Mrs. Alba, but I'll prefer the audience to ask any question for the time being. If not, then maybe I'll start with a warm-up question. Ms. Alba, you mentioned about yogic breathing, but how is it different from our everyday breathing? Is it a difference? And let's see, if I do my everyday breathing, does it have an impact on my mental health?
So our mind guides our breath, and our breath guides our mind. So when we're in a state of anxiety, our breath tends to be very shallow. And we don't, everyday breath, we don't take it with awareness. We're just breathing. It's just something that automatically happens. But in yogic breathing, when we actually sit down and take a deep diaphragmatic breath, which is a very common breath in yoga, and let's do that together. Let's close our eyes and let's relax our shoulders, our jaw, our chest. And let's take a deep breath into our abdomen. And hold that breath and slowly let it out. And let's just notice that impact of just one breath. So in yogic breath, we're actually helping balance the autonomic nervous system. So the more we take a conscious breath, and there's so many different types of pranayamas that come in, but in a general yoga class, most often it's just the yogic breath that's taught, or Anuloma Viloma or Kapalabhati. Those are the most three popular breaths. But when it comes to some of the chronic illnesses, like when you're helping someone dealing with anxiety of a disease like cancer, I work for a cancer center, we tend to take pranayama a little bit more deeply, and you're actually working your lungs out. You're expanding your diaphragm, which is the least used muscle in our body. And when we strengthen our diaphragm, we take a deeper breath, we send more oxygen into our blood, and breathing exercises is also known to activate the lymphatic system. So there's so many host of things that happen when we take a deep breath. And also there's a gut and brain connection. So when our gut becomes stronger, so when our stress response becomes a little bit stronger, when our nervous system becomes stronger, then it also helps our gut. Then there's a brain-gut connection becomes a little stronger. So it's a known fact that when you're really stressed, when you're really anxious, your digestive system shuts down. But when you relieve that stress, so there's so many different things that can happen with mindful yogic breath. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yeah, thank you, sister. I will take one more question from the audience. Thank you, Scovia. Scovia is one of my students. She's a foreigner. She's asking, is there a guide to follow so that we do not end up creating harm to the nerves or to the body while practicing yoga? If yes, how and where do we get it from? I mean, she's more focused on the harm that yoga can cause, possibly to the nerve, because we're dealing with, postures and so on and so forth. Could there be like some sort of nerve pinching?
I think the best guide for yoga is your own body. One should go ahead and try different types of yoga and know that where does our body is being stressed, and knowing the difference between pain and between stress, between just not pain, but there's a space of pain, or there's a space of discomfort. Discomfort is okay, but knowing when to pull back when your body is going beyond discomfort would be your best guide. And there is nerve pinching that happens, but let's go ahead and start. Let's be gentle to ourselves, and let's not be competitive. And let's not try to look like those, yoga teachers that are on the magazine covers. And let's be compassionate to ourselves and find a practice that is gentle. And if we start doing gentle yoga, there's so much available online now, even on YouTube. And start doing gentle beginner yoga and see what suits you, and start doing it regularly and noticing your own body's response to that, and then go in depth as your body takes you there.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have time for one more question, sister. Yes. I do have a few students in here who are mainly in occupational therapy. Okay, especially they deal with people with different levels of disability. And you mentioned that yoga can be helpful for people suffering from cancer. I'm just wondering about, if a person who has not that flexible body, or somebody who has got some kind of disability, practice yoga?
Yes, I was involved in a study with a disease called myositis, and it gives you, it is an autoimmune disease, and you have immense amount of pain. And many of our practitioners, students of UCF, could not even move. So you can, the practice of meditation, pranayama, yoga, I always say the 8 branches of yoga have been thrown all over the place, and the bodies of yoga have been just chopped. And it is all a one tree. So if we just sit, and if someone has debilitating pain and cannot practice yoga, cannot practice a physical posture, let's go ahead and start with our breath. Let's go ahead and start with gentle movements of our small joints, maybe just the neck and shoulders, and open up our breathing cycle, and start where you can. And gentle meditation, everyone can meditate, whether laying down in bed, etc.
Okay.
Just start.
Okay. Thank you, sister. There seems to be a few questions popping in as well. For example, for back and shoulder pain, which yoga postures to do? Briefly, quickly, because maybe we'll take one more, two questions. Just very brief.
There is a quote in yoga: you're as healthy as your spine is flexible. So let's not chop yoga into shoulder, back pain, hip pain. If we just work on the flexibility of the spine as a whole, it will help your low back, shoulders, taking away the tightness. We all have the, texting neck, etc. But for shoulder and even back pain, I would do hip rolls, shoulder movement, a lot of that neck movements, and also eye exercises have known to help the impinging nerves in our upper back and shoulders.
Okay. Thank you, sister. There are a few questions again from the chat box, but I'll prefer to keep them in abeyance for the time being. And if we have time, maybe after the other speakers, and then we'll take the questions again a little bit. Thank you, Sister Alpa, for this excellent talk. Okay, thank you very much. I'll leave the floor now to Dr. Ganesh to proceed with the next speaker. Dr. Ganesh, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Alpa, Sister Alpa, again, for making the link between the various systems, sympathetic and parasympathetic system with health and yoga. That was quite interesting. Okay, so let's move to our next speaker. Our next speaker would be Dr. Mahendra Murtha. He's a well-known psychologist from Mauritius. He's a clinical educational psychologist, having participated in various conferences at national and international level. And he has been a psychologist attached to the Ministry of Education of Mauritius, lecturer at the MIE and University of Mauritius, advisor to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I will invite Dr. Murtha now for his talk. Thank you, Dr. Murtha.
Om Shanti. I wish to thank the organizers for inviting me to be a member of the panel to talk about yoga. And this opportunity opened avenues for me to express my concern over whatever is happening in the whole world about human beings. Why do humans are acting worse than animals, where in different cases where humanity is absent? So that has been a question for me, because I'm dealing with children with disabilities, I'm dealing with delinquents, I'm dealing with criminals, I'm dealing with different types of people who are the outcast of society. And while looking at those people, an idea has come to my mind that have anybody been talking to people, telling them what is a human being and what is humanity? And I discovered that, you see, nobody is interested to tell people that the only being on earth who is multidimensional is the human being. No other being, no other living being on earth is multidimensional as human beings. First dimension is the physical dimension, which gives them their identity as human beings, show that they are human beings because they look like human beings. Second is the social dimension. The social dimension is acquired through interaction with other people. It's important for us to know that we are human beings, that other people around us also are human beings because they are similar to us. Third dimension is the psychological dimension, is we think, we express our emotions, we act according to our own desires, our own love, affection, etc., etc. Third dimension is the moral dimension. The moral dimension tells us what is right and what is wrong. And the fifth dimension, which unfortunately, is completely disregarded, is completely thrown away, is the spiritual dimension. And when we put the 5 dimensions together, it is only then that humanity is conferred upon us. Without the 5 dimensions being really given the place that it deserves in the life of human beings, humanity is not guaranteed. Now, I still remember when I was studying psychology in the universities in France, in Paris, I had a teacher, and he always said, born a human being, humanity is not guaranteed. Born a human being, humanity is not guaranteed. And this is what we are looking at, what we are seeing happening in all throughout the world. Crime, and all the horrible things that's happening with the war in Ukraine, etc., not only there, but in different parts of the world. So I believe that when I have been studying all the things around, I've seen that yoga is the art, not only the art, but the science which can lead human beings towards being human. That is, then humanity is going to be guaranteed to these people. Unfortunately, what happens is that all these dimensions which gives us our identity as human beings are completely disregarded. When we look at whatever is happening in the world, khao, piyo, mauj karo. This is it, eat, drink, and be merry. That's all. We are not interested in thinking about this, about that. Respect is something which has completely disappeared. Consideration of people has completely disappeared. Emotional exchange between people, between parents and children, between parents themselves, between couple. I've got so many cases that come to see me because, after 1 month of marriage, there is bickering. So I think that if there is a move, the move has started. The whole world nowadays is talking about the International Yoga Day. And I think that yoga is the answer to the questions that we are asking about humanity. I'll tell you one thing, my experience that I had, I was invited by a prestigious university in India. And when I went there, I saw that the India, which I knew through Mahatma Gandhi, through Rabindranath Tagore, was no longer there. That India has completely disappeared. You know, the cradle of yoga, where the whole thing started, there it's no longer there. And these things have been, you know, triggering my brain, my mind, and asking me, what is happening? Why is it so that people, you know, I just went to a meeting where I met some 10 delinquents who were there, you know, and these people, you know, they are getting money, they are working, but they are spending thousands of rupees on drugs. They are not respecting their body. And when I ask them, do you know what is your body? Do you know that you are a human being? They don't know. They don't realize that. So there is a big, really a huge task in front of us if we can start since preschool time, dealing with children, telling them, sensitizing them to what is a human being, who is a human being. You see, yoga helps you to be conscious of your own body, to be conscious of body, to be conscious of mind, and to be conscious of your soul. Body, mind, soul. These are the three very important elements that prove you are a human being. Your body, your mind, and your soul. These three things. But unfortunately, something has happened somewhere, be it in the field of education, be it in the field of social sciences, be it in different fields. What we have seen is that unfortunately, humanity has disappeared. Humanity is no longer there. People behave worse than animals. So this is, you know, more or less my idea about how we can sensitize people, mobilize those people who have got a foresight into looking into our own societies in different parts of the world. How can we, once they are aware of their own body, once they are aware that the body, the human being is a multi-dimensional being. He's got a body, physical, social, psychological, moral, and spiritual. It is important for people to understand that. Once they start understanding that, why I'm talking to you about understanding that? Because, you know, my students at the different universities where I've been teaching or I'm teaching, I've been telling them, I've been sensitizing them, I've been trying to bring them to realize that they are human beings and they should be acting like human beings. Don't forget that you're a student at the university, but as soon as you leave the university, you are a human being. In the bus, you are a passenger. On the street, you are a stroller, whatever, you know. At home, you are a member of the family. And as a member of the family, you've got so many roles to play. husband, wife, boy, girl, male, female, children, uncle, aunt, nephew, etc., etc. So many roles to play. And you've got to play these roles to the best. So how can we bring people to understand that humanity is something which is there, and they should show it. They should manifest their humanity. And to be able to do that, I think many people nowadays, they are convinced that yoga is something very important. Call it an exercise, call it an art, call it a science, call it whatever name you want, but call it yoga. Practice it. When you practice yoga, you become conscious of your body. And when you are conscious of your body, you know you are a human being. When you start thinking about yoga, you start thinking about your breathing system. It will open avenues for you to understand that you don't have only the breathing system. You have the cardiac system, you've got the different systems that we have in our bodies. We've got almost 10, 20, 15, 30, 40 different systems and subsystems in our body. So once you become aware of that, you become aware of your own humanity. And when you become aware of your own humanity, you will be acting, you will be behaving as a human being. It is important for us to bring people to understand that this is the basis of the movement that we can start acting towards to get people practice yoga. And at the same time, while practicing yoga, we'll be able to sensitize these people to the need to be humans so that humanity is preserved. It is important for us to think in terms of that. And I feel that this platform is a place where we can convince. Once we can convince one person, let the person convince other persons, but then start somewhere. Convince people that this is the answer to our sufferings. Because the suffering, we are only human beings make other human beings suffer. It's incredible, We are the people who can torture, who can kill, who can wound, who can, cause harm to our own kind. We are the only one. This is why also somebody has said, man is the most dangerous predator that can exist not in the world, in the whole universe. Man. If you see a man, you don't know what he's going to do, what he can do, and what harm he can bring to you. So, more or less, this is my message on this very important day where yoga should be our main focus. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Mutha. I can't see any question in the chat box. There was one previous question. It deals with how can we help people with panic attacks? How can we help people with panic attacks? Maybe if you can try to answer this one from the audience, panic attacks. How can we help people?
Panic attack is based on fear, right? And fear is an irrational aspect is an irrational emotion in people. Because, you know, when you've got a panic attack, I've got so many people who come with panic attack. They say that they can't sleep, they got sweating at night, they don't get sleep, and they can't eat, and their mind go on thinking about this and that, you know. And normally this is what is happening among men. There are very few people whom I've met, female people who talk about panic attack. But men, now, why men and when men? There is one very important element which I tell people about, is that there are different sevens in our life. The first 7 is when you reach 7 years old, your tooth falls and you get, the teeth you get is going to last you the whole life. Second 7 is 14, when you reach the age of puberty. Third 7 is 21, when according to different societies, you have attained maturity. Fourth 7 is 28. 28 when you start thinking of marriage, etc., etc. Fifth 7 is 35. Now, if you marry at 28, at age 25, at age 35, you are going to have a child at age 7. So then 42, your child is 14. 49, your child is 21. So what happens is that when you look at, and what happens among men is, I don't know why, that I'm thinking that I need to have a team of people to start thinking in terms of why is it that the fifth 7 and the 7 7 and the 6 7, the fifth 7 and the 6 7 are the time when most men die. From 42 to, from 35 to 42, you've got so many, I've lost many of my friends at that age, and we don't know why. Why is it that men during that 5 7 and 6 7 are become so fragile that anything happening, they die? So it's important for us to think in terms of that. So the panic attack comes in between that period for men. I've met so many of them who have come to see me, and the panic attack is during that period when they have become the most fragile human beings. They cannot cope with whatever is happening, and they spend their time thinking about the future of their children, what is going to happen, how am I going to do that, what will end, etc., etc. So this is, now the panic attack, don't forget that. One thing very important is an irrational fear. That is, you don't know. And when somebody says, I'm afraid of, it's always something that, you see, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of having an accident, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And for what he's afraid of is something that doesn't exist. It exists only in his imagination, because it is an irrational fear. And this is what I've discovered with my clients who come to me with panic attack, is that they are afraid of the future, afraid that they miss this, afraid for this, afraid for that. This is my own experience of this. And what I'm telling you is that I want people, a team of people who start thinking in terms of that. 7777. Very important.
Thank you, Dr. Mota, for highlighting us on panic attacks a little bit. Surely we have other queries there, but I'll prefer to proceed and give the floor to our next speaker. I have the pleasure of inviting our next speaker, who is Dr. Girish Patel, who was born in Gujarat in India. His CV is so long and he has contributed so many things in terms of, psychotherapy that it will take me a long time to introduce him, but I'll just try to summarize what he sent to me. Dr. Girish Patel is an international award-winning psychotherapist and international trainer as well. He has completed his MBBS from Mumbai University, postgraduate studies in psychiatry, and holds a PhD in psychotherapy as well. He's a fellow of the Royal Society of Health London in mental health. He's also currently associated with Medical University of Kazakhstan and Sydney Universities. He's a member of the Indian Psychiatry Association, World Psychiatry Association, and has been contributed to Raj Yoga and Brahma Kumari's association as well. He has traveled across the globe to share his knowledge and has given more than 7,000 lectures, participated in talks, shows in popular TVs and radio channels as well. And he has also been involved in writing publications as well, which have been published and even translated in foreign languages as well. So without further ado, I leave the floor now to Dr. Girish Patel for his talk. Yes, Dr. Girish, maybe you can unmute yourself, and the floor is all yours now. We can't hear you.
Yes, yes. Okay. Fine. Okay, I'm audible.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Om Shanti. Yoga. The oldest mention is in Upanishads in India. And there are varieties of yoga, in fact. There is Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, even Buddhi Yoga, Raj Yoga. And generally, when we call International Yoga Day, why it was so much accepted? It is no Patanjali's yoga, like what is called Ashtanga Yoga. It's called eightfold yoga. There are 8 limbs, in fact. Everyone talks about asanas and pranayam, but it's only those 2 steps, which is in fact very little. When Patanjali talked about those 8 steps, in fact, that is also very small. In fact, Patanjali also, when mentioned about yoga, there are yoga sutras. He has mentioned around 85 sutras, means no small verse. They are very small, but it's a way of living. They are very easily available. Everyone should read them, in fact. And it's a way of living. So that's actually yoga. And what has been shared in Brahma Kumaris, what's called Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is a whole lifestyle. And in Raj Yoga, there is not only, say, way of living, but it's a total inner development. Now, even in, say, scientific community, in psychiatric world, we say mind is everything. So we would say mental well-being is everything, because every doctor would agree that 60 to 70% disease begins in human mind. And if we become mentally well, we can prevent all those diseases. Mind which kills can heal all this disease. Hence, when we become mentally well, in fact, we can cure all this disease. And even though scientifically, through practice of yoga, it's not only that it brings relaxation, as it was mentioned earlier, that it leads to, say, parasympathetic stimulation. Today, say, in modern age, we are always in hurry. So there is a sympathetic overactivity. But yoga would lead to parasympathetic activity, which is a conservative system. Apart from that, yoga even balances all the chemicals of our brain. Brain releases almost, we would say, over 100 chemicals. And those neurotransmitters are balanced through the practice of yoga. And this has been proven. Now we have PET scans. So even function of brain can be measured. So while practicing meditation, those PET scans have been done, where these neurotransmitters, the functioning of the various parts of brain have been measured. Even we did different studies. I did studies at Sir Gangaram Hospital in India, where two groups were made. Nobody knew that what we were going to do. One group underwent soft music, and another group was given simple meditation, a simple guided meditation. And their EEG pattern was being measured. And even we had given them an aura scan called PIP scan, that is polycontrast interference photography. And results were indeed amazing. The neurologists who were involved were so impressed that within 10 minutes, such a transformation can happen, an EEG pattern. And the impressive part was that it's not only that when they were doing yoga or meditation, that EEG pattern had changed, but even afterwards, we gave them some mental work. They could maintain that change. They could maintain that stability of mind when they were doing that mental work. So that was indeed a powerful proof that yoga can be of great help in preventing and curing large number of stress-related diseases. And this, even at my clinic, we have a special software called, it's the bioenergy field reader. It's not something like we can do a videography. Somebody, like we can do there the person's videography, that in the beginning, then the person practices a yoga, Raj Yoga, which is a type of meditation. In the beginning, what is a bioenergy field, and as person practices that yoga practice, how his bioenergy field is changing. And then the whole thing is visible. It is well known that actually the disease begins in that energy fields. Later on, like in yoga, there is a whole concept that the physical body is little later. Deeper level is that, so Annamaya Kosh. Then there is a Pranamaya Kosh. Then there is a Anandamaya Kosh. And very deep is that the soul, whatever you call a spiritual being within, the energy field. So there the disease begins. So with yoga, if we can bring that change at energy field, then ultimately at gross level also we can bring the change. So yoga can transform at much deeper level. So where actually the disease begins. So that's why if we can promote practice of yoga, although I agree that people are interested in physical aspects more. Now this has become an industry. But it is not only something physical. Yoga is much more, I would say, psychological and spiritual. So if it is understood from that perspective, and even practiced from that perspective, even if not taught even from that perspective, indeed, it would bring much more benefit to the whole humanity. And I think Brahma Kumaris is doing the same work. Raj Yoga, in fact, is promoting at that spiritual level, at the root level. And at that root level, when person transforms that inner psyche, even in psychological field, we have started believing, like experts like Deepak Chopra also have started saying this, that we are not physical being with occasional human experiences, but in fact, we are spiritual being with occasional human experiences. So that is in fact the reality. And that is what we need to not only accept, but we should also practice it. And yoga in a true sense is that. When Patanjali spoke about yoga, Yam Niyam is a discipline of life. Then Asana is few postures, which in the beginning it was being mentioned. Pranayam is those, say, breathing. And even in breathing, when it was mentioned, I was wondering, there is a pranayam which is not generally mentioned. It is called Bhastrika. Bhastrika actually is a deep breathing. Bhastrika is a diaphragmatic breathing. So, if Bhastrika is practice, you learn to use your diaphragm. Initially, you can practice Bhastrika in a slow way. Then you can practice it in a deeper way. So then you are using your lung capacity to the fullest. Generally, we are using our lungs hardly to 40 to 60%. When even if you do Bhastrika, you start using your lung capacity to 80 to 100%. And then the further steps are more important. which I feel in Raj Yoga, although they don't mention, but the further steps of Pratyahar, Dhyan, Dharana, and Samadhi are most important. Samadhi is that ultimate step of absorption. So I think they are also very, very important, which can take us to mental wellness. And once you are mentally healthy, automatically you will become socially healthy. And definitely one is going to become physically healthy. So I personally feel that yoga, if adopted in this particular sense, person would become holistically healthy. And now we have so many, I would say, even scientific evidence in this regard. Even I have done research studies in the field of diabetes, that how Raj Yoga helps in diabetic patients. Like, in diabetic patients, Raj Yoga had helped not only in controlling their diabetes, but their blood sugar had reduced, but at the same time that their insulin level had reduced. So which proves that their body resistance had also reduced, because in most of the diabetics there is a body resistance increases. So which is a wonderful thing that happens when you practice Raj Yoga. Even a huge study is going on at international headquarters in Brahma Kumaris, where even without bypass, with Raj Yoga, heart diseases are being reversed. This is due to, at the root, we are able to transform the energy level, the blockages which are there. And because those blocks which are there at energy level, so at physical level, the blocks which are there in the heart are also reversed. So I think from that sense, if we can practice yoga, we would get the best results. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Patel. The floor is open for questions. We had some very nice input from Dr. Patel regarding Raj Yoga, and he has given us some feedback and some beautiful insights about how he has been able to observe his patients and try to relate to us a little bit about treatment which are being given and their effectiveness in mental wellness. I do hope that, this can be helpful for our audience in here. Any questions so far, guys, before we proceed? Anybody wants to raise anything? Maybe I will prefer to ask something. It's about, Dr. Patel, nowadays we are having a lot of problems, especially something that is quite current in Mauritius. It's about substance abuse, especially among our young generation. And this, is there anything that could be done maybe from a rehabilitation perspective in order to treat these people, or possibly in order to bring them back on track? Because this is becoming really a major problem nowadays, especially with, with yoga and possibly with your experience that you have in psychotherapy.
Lot can be done. Actually, when we deal with them, we should never tell them that give up drugs. I give them very simple example. Even recently, I was in one of the cities, on 21st of this June, this yoga day. I showed them two glasses. one glass was no without the base. No, two say no drinking glasses. One glass was without the base. And I told them that if you keep on pouring water in it, it would never get filled, right? Because that no base is not there. The water will come down. The same thing happens with drug addicts or with alcoholics. They take up to alcohol or drugs with a hope that it will bring some fulfillment. That no, I will feel good. But it never happens. Because alcohol or drugs is a bottomless glass. It will never get filled. However, no, you put inside. So if you want fulfillment, you need a glass with a bottom. That would happen only with some inner development. Yoga is one of them. Or something else.
Okay.
Say relaxation, positive thinking, or some other positive activity.
Okay.
Some wellness activity by which you can really experience some fulfillment. Or no, generally, if we tell them that you give up these things, it's not going to help. We should tell them to love themselves. No, Pooja Bhatt is an actress here in India. She had taken up to lot of alcohol. She has been telling her own story. She says that no, one day my father called me. And he said that I'm not going to tell you to give up alcohol. She really tells this. She has written this on social media also. She says, my father told me that I'm not going to tell you to give up alcohol. I'm going to tell you to love yourself. So she says, when I started loving myself, started thinking on that aspect, slowly started doing it gradually and automatically alcohol went out of my life.
Okay, good.
So,
So
same
a bit of a change
happen
of
with drugs
strategy.
also. Pardon?
No, it's a good change of strategy. I mean,
Yeah.
we-
With drug addicts, no, you should never tell them this.
Okay. Dr.
Start
Patel,
loving yourself.
we've got one more question, but maybe very quick. Maybe this is somehow scientific. Om Shanti. It's from Brinda, Sister Brinda Sunandan. Can you please clarify how Raj Yoga can help with clearing heart blockages?
Yeah. What happens is your various organs of the body, they need not only various nutrients. No, we generally say that your eyes need vitamin A, your bones need calcium, correct? So similarly, various organs of our body needs various qualities. Your brain needs knowledge. Your lungs need peace. Your heart needs love. Generally, we would associate heart with love. Why these days heart diseases are increasing? Because people are not getting true love. So when you start practicing Raj Yoga, you will get true love from God. Or your dependence of love from people would disappear. And as you receive true love from God, automatically your heart will become healthy. And those blocks would disappear because your heart would become healthy. The same happens to all other body organs as well. And there are no other mechanisms also which we can use when we practice Raj Yoga in order to reduce those blocks. Even though we can use that energy of God like a laser beam to enter into our heart and penetrate into the heart and dissolve those blockages also. It's a whole technique which can be used in the form of visualization to remove the blocks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Patel. I have also one colleague in here on our platform in here. He's Professor Ish Sharma from India. Basically, he is currently in our Faculty of Medicine, and he is more or less involved in in Ayurveda's medicine and so on. Possibly, if he hello, Professor Sharma. I would like to give you the floor maybe for 1 or 2 minutes just to try to tell us a little bit about yoga and its relationship, especially to mental health.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Jeevan, and wonderful listening to the stalwarts. And this has really been very enlightening and very nice to see my students also available here from the occupational therapy. Maybe if I can add like a few comments to the previous speaker's discourse. The government of India, the Ministry of Ayush, I represent the Ministry of Ayush from the government of India. There was a challenge that there being so many yoga schools, what can be a common approach which could be like acceptable to all. So because we started celebrating the International Day of Yoga, they came up with a wonderful plan of a 45 minutes, they call it Common Yoga Protocol. And Common Yoga Protocol was developed after like multiple rounds of Delphi discussion, where all the experts were invited from varied schools and medical doctors and from every walk of life. And after repeated discussions, they could zero in upon, okay, this can be a 45-minute of common protocol, which should be acceptable to all, which does not like highlight any particular philosophy or a particular guru. In the same manner, they came up with a 5-minute corporate yoga, common yoga protocol for the corporates. When you are sitting like 10 to 5, then it is a 5-minute yoga protocol. So maybe if you can review the common yoga protocol, that will really be helpful. One more point, as there was a question regarding like atherosclerosis, as very much made clear by Dr. Patel, if I can add something to that. When you are undertaking like Ashtanga Yoga and Raj Yoga, when you are doing asanas followed by pranayama, and very rightly put by Dr. Patel, if you undertake like Bhastrika, Bhastrika is such a rigorous kind of breathing, which would be pumping your heart very fast and your lungs also very fast, exchanging the residual volume of 500 ml from your lungs. You end up having more like fresher air, more oxygen. And when your lungs and heart are working so like rigorously, then there is surely a possibility of dislodgement of any or like non-building up of any atherosclerotic plaques. And most importantly, the blockage does not usually go by like breaking away of the plaques, because that can further lead to embolism. Rather, it goes away by developing a collateral circulation. The collateral circulation will be wonderfully developed if you undertake pranayama, especially Bhastrika, Kapalabhati. And if you undertake regular yoga, then your stress hormones would go down. Once you have a lowered level of adrenaline, then your atherosclerosis surely would not be building up. I'm not having much time, Dr. Jeevan, I would like to conclude. I can take up questions if any, please.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for sharing your knowledge. I'm very happy that you talk for 1 or 2 minutes. Now what I will do is, we have got only 10 minutes to finish. I've got 1 or 2 more minutes because Sister Alpa wanted to comment on one particular aspect, especially on one particular comment we had about that Maslow hierarchy of needs. The question was, so does that mean that only rich people Can you guys hear me? Yes. Does that only mean that only rich people can practice yoga since they have their biological, social needs fulfilled? What about those who are struggling and are quite on the lower income side and are trying to struggle on a daily basis? Can yoga be beneficial to them? Sister Alpa, I think you wanted to comment a little bit on that. The floor is yours. Quick, Dr. Alpa.
Sure. As I always say, yoga begins on your mat. And as long as you have your body and you have a floor to stand on and a place to sit and an intention of well-being, an intention of taking your mind, body, and spiritual health in the right path, you can do yoga anywhere. The studios and very expensive, gyms are created for those that have access to that. But if you do not, and you have access to your own body, you have access to your mind and your breath and your intention, you can sit anywhere and really practice yoga postures. If you don't have a mat, you can go on a grass and maybe just take a towel and practice yoga, maybe just on barefoot on grass. It's very, very beneficial to have the warm grass underneath your feet and very energetic. So starting anywhere, even if you don't have access to YouTube or all these, to data, we have access to our body, and just moving our body gently from using all the 5 layers of our being, physical, our breathing body, our mental body, and then our wisdom body wakes up, and Ananda generally flows freely. So I think we have access to our own mind and our being and our will, and that should be your place to start.
Thank you, Sister Alpa. So obviously the question of being rich or poor doesn't arise, I guess, in this case.
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to comment a little bit about panic attacks. I've had just a recent diagnosis of cancer in my own family. My own family member had dealt with panic attacks. My son is now starting residency in radiology as we speak last week. And when he was taking his MCATs, he did come to me finally, Mom, can you help me? And all we did is we started with the physical body. I just started doing every single day yoga, mindfulness practice, and breathing exercises without really speaking to the panic attack, without really speaking to the mind. We took body as a vehicle. And sometimes we speak about spirituality. Yes, we all would like to lead everyone to the path of Raja Yoga, but the language and understanding is not available to the wider audience. What is available is our body, our cells, our muscles, and through that vehicle, the Annamaya Kosha, using the Pranamaya, using the Manomaya, Pranamaya, using Pranayama, Manomaya, using different techniques of meditation and relaxation, visualization, we can tap in to the wisdom body, the Vijnanamaya. And as all get connected, and as we start opening up energy channels, the lymphatic system, balancing the autonomic nervous system, and opening up a host of healing modalities in ourselves, then Ananda automatically flourishes. And then we do become spiritual, whatever we call it, whatever we call our God, we become spiritual in ourselves. And I call my God Krishna, and I call myself the inner being that elates when I'm on my mat and when I'm in my space, and the Ananda comes in. It is the true Krishna or true wisdom and true spirituality, I believe. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Sister Alpa. We are also running out of time a little bit now, but it has been lovely getting all of you on board. And I myself have been inspired a lot today. I do gardening, I do exercises, but now I think I will put into practice some more yoga into my agenda now. I'll leave the floor now to Brother Ganesh and sisters for their final concluding remarks on this talk today.
Yes, thanks very much. Yes, we slightly running out of time, and Brother Rajesh has already mentioned quite a few points, which can, I would say, have concluded the talk. And before we finish, I'd like to invite Dr. Patel now for a short demonstration of guided meditation on yoga, Raja Yoga practice. Thank you, Dr. Patel.
Om Shanti. I thought what we did in that research study at Sir Gangaram Hospital, maybe a small part of it I will demonstrate with you. It's a sort of visualization which is very easy for even a beginner. Just be comfortable. Sit upright. Let your feet on your floor. If you wish, you can close your eyes and just follow me. Just watch your breath. Now think that you are seated in a yellow hot air balloon which is going to take you up very, very safely. This yellow hot air balloon is going up 5 feet, 10 feet. You are enjoying this journey. Try to see the surrounding, how it looks. As it goes up further, 15 feet, 20 feet, trees at the ground level look smaller. Similarly, as you raise your consciousness, the situation in your life seems small. And to do so, think that you are a spiritual being. This body is just an instrument which you are using. Visualize a point of light in the center of the forehead. You are this point of light, different than the physical body. As you realize this, you feel light. Still, this balloon is rising up 200 feet. You are feeling light. You are feeling peaceful. Peace is your original quality. You are embodiment of peace. Still, this balloon is rising up. It has gone high in the sky. Now, the trees at the ground level are not visible. Similarly, as you raise your consciousness, you become stress-free. You're feeling so blissful. Bliss is your original quality. You are full of bliss. You are enjoying this journey. You're so high in the sky. There are clouds below, and you are enjoying this journey. Look, there are planes going below, and your balloon is flying above. You are enjoying this journey. You are feeling so happy. Still it is rising up. Now you are going beyond the gravitational attraction of the earth. And here you are becoming weightless. You are having an astral journey. You are passing through various planets and indeed feeling very, very happy. At a distance, a very shining star is coming closer to you. You're feeling so happy. That star is full of energy. As that star comes closer to you, you are receiving that energy. That star is spreading peace, and you are receiving the peace. You are becoming embodiment of peace. The star is full of love, is giving you unconditional love. Indeed becoming full of love. Having received full of peace and love, now slowly this balloon is coming down, but you are detached. You are very, very peaceful. You are absolutely detached. Though this balloon is coming down faster, you are entering in the gravitational attraction of Earth, but you are totally peaceful. You are full of peace. It's coming down faster, but you are in that state of relaxation. You are in that state of your original being, your original qualities of love, happiness, peace. It's coming down. You are able to see those buildings, the trees, but you are in that state. It has almost reached the ground level, but you're so peaceful. It is reached the ground level. But you will maintain this state while doing even your day-to-day activities. Get oriented to your surrounding, become fully conscious. But you are very happy. Even while doing your day-to-day activities, is, we will maintain this peace. We will maintain this relaxation. Om Shanti. 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 Om Shanti. Like this. This is just for a beginner. Rajyog is much more deeper, which is being offered free of cost at Rajyog centers across the world. As this question was there about people who are poor. That's the very basis of Brahma Kumaris. That for the basic course, no fees is being charged, so that everybody can take benefit of it. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank you for the nice journey through space and relaxation. I'm sure that that will encourage people to embark into yoga and Raja meditation. We've nearly reached the end of the talk, and I'd like to thank Sister Rupa and Sister Rekha for the initiative, as well as Dr. Rajesh Jiwan for choosing the topic of tonight's webinar. Special thank to all our guest speakers, Miss Alpa Raval, Dr. Mandranath Mota, and Dr. Dwish Patel, who have spared the precious time to give us such an enriching expose on yoga linked to mental wellness. Thank you all to all participants who have contributed to this webinar as well. Without you, it would not be possible. Thank you, everyone. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.